This is the Terracycle speaker and demonstration video from UW Bothell and Cascadia College's Earth Week event in 2022. We have a speaker from Terracycle presenting and speaking on Terracycle's activities, and there's some Q&A at the end that you can watch. Thank you.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Mary Ellen Dowd. I am a communications associate at Terracycle. We're based in Trenton, New Jersey, but we have multiple offices. We're located in 20 countries, so really exciting to be a global leader in the recycling industry. I'm just going to do a little presentation for your guys' knowledge. It's mostly informative about recycling in general, and then like a little bit about Terracycle specifically. But as you guys said before, you're very well versed in the realm of waste, so that's exciting. This is all probably going to be some repeated knowledge, so that'll be fun to see. So just to start out, why recycling is probably more important than you think. So like the slide says, recycling reuses material already extracted from the earth. And the most environmentally harmful part of the product's life cycle is when fossil fuels used to produce new materials like plastics are extracted from the earth. So using recycled materials to make new products reduces the need and demand for virgin materials. So all that is pretty intuitive about recycling. But basically this avoids greenhouse gas emissions that will result from extracting or mining virgin materials. And the savings are significant. 90% of the average product's environmental impact comes from extracting and refining raw materials from which the product is made. So some other cool stuff about recycling that we might not think about as much as the first slide is how recycling stimulates the economy. So in terms of job creation, revenue generation, and improving manufacturing efficiency, this is a really useful industry. Speaking about job creation, recycling generates between 2 and 4 jobs for every 1,000 tons of waste diverted from landfills, which is a pretty significant number. And when we look at revenue, unfortunately in recent years, it's been declining a bit as China stopped allowing the processing and sale of foreign recyclables. But when done right, recycling can generate billions of dollars in revenue through sale of raw recycled materials. And so thankfully, Terracycle has been largely insulated from this because of our unique business model. And I'll get more into that later. So the last component in terms of manufacturing efficiency, manufacturing with recycled aluminum cans translates to 95% in energy savings. An aluminum can will be back in the store shelf an average of just 6 weeks after being tossed in your recycling bin. So that's really impressive. So that being said, conventional recycling certainly has its limits. So when we talk about municipal, like curbside recycling, it can be problematic, but this slide shows all the potential that Terracycle as a business tries to tap into. So what makes an item practically recyclable? Which means like it can be recycled, on the curb in your blue bin just normally. Practical recyclability for a waste stream is if waste management supply chain can do it profitably. So in shorter terms, if a waste management company can make money from recycling that product. So this obviously touches on a big issue that a lot of people don't realize. Curbside recycling is about profit first and foremost. The company picking up your blue bin or green bin every other week is not a nonprofit doing it solely for the environment. They're doing it to make money. So this brings us to the recycling as a business equation. If the cost of logistics and processing are less than the value of the resulting material, that product will become practically recyclable. If not, it will likely be landfilled. And that's where Terracycle comes in to try and create solutions for those products that aren't practically recyclable. So what does Terracycle do anyway? Let's find out. Terracycle is an international waste management company dedicated to the idea of eliminating waste. Um, with a presence in 21 countries worldwide, Terracycle furthers this goal by partnering with leading consumer product companies, retailers, and cities in order to divert conventionally unrecyclable waste from landfills and turning it into new recycled products. So, in short, we partner with brands who sell products that are not recyclable and develop recycling solutions for them. The economics of conventional recycling doesn't affect us much because the brands themselves are paying us for the recycling component. So, just to give a little summary, some of our standout products right now are coffee capsules, flexible plastic packaging, PPE, which stands for personal protective equipment, which would be like disposable masks and gloves, cigarette buds, and everything in between. So, Terracycle is eliminating the idea of waste. This is an awesome idea. Let's get a little more into it. A few of the call outs I want to have is we've been in business for 19 years and we may have retained that scrappy can do startup attitude, but we've grown into a mature company. We've demonstrated that in 600 plus major partnerships with brands, both household names and newer companies. 202 plus million people are recycling with us globally. We've donated over $44 million to charities and schools and won well over 200 awards in business innovation and sustainability. In addition to that, over 50 plus articles are published about Terracycle every day. And that's where my team comes in, the public relations team, where we work with reporters to place articles in news media. So that's earned media instead of paid media. We don't do paid media at Terracycle, so we don't pay for advertising. Every like news article you see about us, we've fought to get in the news. So this is just some good representation. These are some of the awards we won, I believe. So we were honored as one of Time's 100 most influential companies in 2021. We also collaborated with P&G to provide the 2020 Olympics first ever recycled plastic medal podiums, which is honestly really cool. So an overview of our recycling divisions real quick. I just wanted to give you a full range of Terracycle's diverse services. Obviously, you guys already know about zero waste boxes, but I'll briefly talk about everything. So with our brand partnerships, these are national recycling programs funded by brands, manufacturers, and retailers around the world to help consumers collect and recycle their hard to recycle products and packaging. So they're sometimes called brigades or free national recycling programs. These are super easy. You just make an account on terracycle.com, download the free shipping label, and package your collected waste in reused shipping boxes. Then you can attach that label and send it off to us. Often we do I'm sorry, I'm sitting outside, so if you hear the birds chirping. But also we often do a donation incentive with Terracycle. So the brand partner kind of in this sense empowers us to donate money. Sorry, let me explain this a bit better. So the amount of waste collected by a particular individual, school, community group would be translated to pounds, which is then translated to what we call Terracycle points, and is then translated into monetary like dollars that can be donated back to the collector's choice of any nonprofit or school. So they can donate it wherever they want as long as it's a nonprofit or school. And that's super cool. That's a good initiative for people to get involved. We also have a full in-house marketing, graphic design, and PR team to get the word out about these programs. with this communication, we're able to run a lot of highly visible and encouraging marketing and PR campaigns, and even recycling contests. So next, moving to the zero waste boxes, it's exactly what it sounds like, and you guys know all about it because you have all these awesome zero waste boxes in your school. But we collect literally pretty much any type of waste stream through these, and they're recycled the same way as sponsored waste programs. These exist both in a consumer and corporate facing form. Some other things we have are our regulated waste arm, which is a newly acquired arm of business, which is located in right outside of Chicago. They often recycle for us a different waste stream like e-waste or things that are like larger than something that we could do ourselves. Then there's freight recycling, which is another arm of business, and it's kind of similar to what it sounds like, just large quantities of waste being recycled through us. And the last one is stored materials. So this kind of allows brands to partner with us and create products out of recycled materials. One cool statistic or fact about this is in 2018, we did a program with Herbal Essence in France, and we actually created the first fully recyclable shampoo bottle. And the reason that it was fully recyclable was because both the top and bottom were made of the same type of plastic, which makes it easier to process. That bottle was also made of 25% beach plastic, which was super cool. And it came in a gray color, which is different for that company that only did white packaging. So that related to kind of like the beach plastic we were picking up being more degraded, so it's more difficult to color. But yeah, just fun fact about that. So yeah, I talked about this sponsored waste programs funded by the brands. Those are our national recycling programs. Zero waste boxes, as you saw before. So if you're confused about recycling in your town, you can do things like this. Download free recycle coach. It's free and easy to use, and you just plug in your location. It tells you what's curbside recyclable in your town. So an example of ways that people might get confused with what's curbside recyclable is number 5 plastics. Like, for example, number 5 plastics are recyclable in a town like Boulder, Colorado, but not recyclable in Loveland, Colorado. So like even from town to town in the same state, things could be very different. So it's super important to learn about your region because we want to get away from this concept of wish cycling where people are putting things in that blue bin just kind of like with the hope that it's recyclable because it's plastic, when there are honestly like a lot of rules that go into this. So yeah, that's in terms of curbside recycling. And then here we are. The last thing is so what you can't recycle in most towns and how Terracycle can help. So here are some examples of things you can't normally recycle curbside and programs that we have for it. So for example, we have a BIC stationary recycling program that collects all brands of writing instruments. So any used pens, that's not something that you could recycle curbside because it's made of several different components, which makes it difficult for municipalities to process. And then, yeah, you could see some of these other ones like Spin Master, Hasbro, and home fragrance, so like candles. We have Gillette razor recycling programs, which we actually, with Gillette, we have a partnership happening on university campuses right now that's really interesting, and we're doing a whole sweepstakes. So if you go online and you look up this program and find a drop-off location in your area and recycle some razors, You can also sign up online with your student email and be entered in a sweepstakes where you have the opportunity to win I think it was 2 NFL tickets or like a year supply of razors. So Gillette's really trying to engage college students in that program specifically. We have pop sockets, personal care items, things like that. As you can see, there's so many different options. And obviously this can all be found on the Terracycle website. So this gets a little bit into what determines recyclability. So technically, virtually anything can be recycled. It's just like what I talked about at the beginning in terms of like profitability. Some things are not profitable to recycle because it's simply like more difficult. So things that would like that would that would a good way to remember something would be recyclable is it made of two different components that can really affect things like for example pet food packaging is often flexible plastic packaging that's lined with aluminum or a different type of plastic. So because there's those two components, curbside won't normally work. This just shows you kind of like some examples of things that are okay and things that are not. But we have solutions for all these things on the right at Terracycle. Again, some misconceptions with the reality of curbside recycling. So we often think that any plastic product that has a triangle made of arrows printed can be thrown in the blue bin. But the reality is only plastic items that have a 1 or a 2 printed with the arrows are widely municipally recyclable. So this just shows you the different types of plastic that go into different products and their different numbers. Again, this is all stuff that is like super useful to look up in your spare, like if you really care about this stuff, to look it up in your spare time and just like learn a little bit about it, maybe tell your friends, because it's really confusing to be able to follow. So go-to rules for curbside. The more materials, like I said before, that make up a piece of waste, the lesser chance it is that it's recyclable via curbside. So obviously a cardboard box that's just made of essentially paper is going to be fine to be recyclable, but then something like this tissue box that has like flexible plastic on it, has like some paper cardboard, probably some sort of like tape or glue on it, that's going to be more difficult. And here are some more go-to rules. So even if your plastic shampoo container or glass lotion bottle is monomaterial, so composed of one material type, it has to be either plastic. Oh, and it's also plastic 1 or 2. You should always make a habit of rinsing out finished products because that's another piece of it is contamination. So that ends my spiel. Let me stop sharing. And now if you guys had any questions, I would love to answer them. I know I kind of just like threw a lot of information at you, so I could give you a second to like digest that. But yeah, that was my spiel.
Question right off the bat. How do you guys deal with contamination issues? How does that work?
Sure. So by contamination, so we also handle things differently at Terracycle, like I said, because we're sponsored by brands that allow us to do this recycling. We have the opportunity to kind of like give more attention to that waste. And so where maybe like if you recycled something curbside that have food on it, they wouldn't take that because the whole cleaning process is kind of strenuous and more expensive. We wouldn't have the same issue because a part of our process is a cleaning portion. So we do clean all the waste that comes in. If you were referencing like non-compliant waste streams, because sometimes like when, for example, a zero waste box, say we had like a Gillette zero waste box or collection box that you were meant to put razors in and somebody slipped like I don't know, like a water bottle in there or something that like didn't belong. That's what we would call non-compliant waste. And at that point, we do everything that we can to recycle like the non-compliant piece of waste. So say it's a water bottle, that's easy. We can just throw it curbside and it'll be recycled that way. If it was something that's traditionally unrecyclable, but we have a solution for it, we would just move that waste to be in the right spot to get recycled with products of its kind. So that's how we deal with non-compliant waste. Contamination isn't that big of an issue for us because we do clean our waste as it comes in.
Excellent. I meant non-compliant. My words aren't good, but so I'm glad to hear that you guys have like systems in place. That's great to hear. So awesome. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Anyone else? Oh, yeah, sure.
So I'm wondering like what do you make out of the stuff you collect? Like for instance, like what would you make out of like all of the like candy and chip bag wrappers that get sent back through a zero waste box?
Sure. So it really depends. When we take this waste, it goes through a multiple step process and eventually becomes these like little plastic pellets. And then those can be used to like be melted and molded into different items. Some of the things that our waste has become is outdoor furniture, decking, um, plastic shipping pallets, watering cans, storage containers and bins. We've done playground surface covers, athletic fields, tubes for construction application, and like flooring tiles. Like as you can see, like a lot of things have been made out of this waste, and it really depends on like the demand. But all our waste becomes these little plastic pellets that can pretty much become anything after that.
Can you like recover the metal portion of like say like a chip bag that's like has a foil lining, or do you just get the plastic out of it and then like can you recover everything in?
Yeah, so the aluminum, each depending on like what the material composition of a waste stream is, it'll go through a different process. So for plastic, and all these processes are just like breaking down. So for example, you said aluminum or metal, that would be smelted and kind of like melted down to like a smaller component where then it could be manipulated. So, but yeah, the answer is yes, we do recover as much as we possibly can from all of our waste streams.
Do you know what percentage your recovery rate is?
That's a great question. I don't have that number right now, but I would say it's pretty close to all of it. Because that is our whole thing is complete recovery.
I have another question.
Sure.
Full contracts with these companies, how do you kind of make those deals? Do they approach you? Do you approach them? How does that work?
Sure. So that's another case by case. Like that answer to that again would be case by case. There are some companies that approach us and say, "Hey, we have this waste stream. We want to create more sustainable practices for our consumer because of whatever motivation they might have." And at that point, then we're there to help them out. There also have been times that there have been bigger corporations that maybe we approached and said, "Hey, like we have this idea for one of your waste streams." We have a whole department of a kind of business development employees that their entire job is to communicate with new partners and kind of like create those ideas with the corporations, so like everybody's happy and everyone's excited about what's going to happen.
Love it. Thank you.
Sure. Yes.
Does Terracycle work with any of any local, not necessarily local to Seattle, but just local recycling groups to try and get products from the recycling plants themselves?
We work like a lot of our waste comes from kind of grassroots efforts, if that answers your question. Like we work very heavily with community organizations, schools, like local businesses, and then individuals. One thing that comes to mind for me is our cigarette bud collection program. This like there have been so many instances of like community groups across the country who have kind of like made it their goal to collect cigarette buds and send them to us. They'll hold like events where community members like go out and like pick up cigarette buds, and they'll like keep their counts. And it's really organizations like that that are what fuels our business. Like the corporate sponsors and everything is like very useful, and it allows us to keep the lights on, but it's really like that passion and drive from individuals and community members that makes the organization so impactful. Like I referenced that cigarette program. We are gonna collect our billionth cigarette bud this year, I believe. Like we're approaching that goal, which is a lot, and that's like a lot that's been diverted from landfill, and that's all because of community groups and individuals getting up and like trying to make a difference in their community and make it more scenic and kind of like help their own ecosystems.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes. I'm sorry, it's so awkward because I don't know, like I'm like you probably can't tell who I'm looking at, but yes, in the front.
So what do you do with cigarette butts? Like how do you what can you turn those into?
Believe it or not, okay. Also, I have a degree in journalism and media studies and a passion for sustainability, but I am in no way a scientist, so bear with me. But there are microplastics in cigarette buds in the filters. And obviously like most of the tobacco is usually gone by the time we get to it because it's been smoked down and we're pretty much just dealing with a butt. So at that point, we're recycling a filter and paper. We know that paper is recyclable. Our research and development team have created methods for kind of pelletizing those filters. So yeah, I wish I could tell you like equations and things, but I don't have that information. They do have a method to break that down to plastic pellets though.
So pretty much everything plastic just gets turned into pellets. And then
Pretty much everything that we recycle becomes like small pellets or like shredded pieces of waste, because you have to like make it as small as possible in order to kind of like give it the opportunity to be remolded into a new product. Anyone else?
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mary, for joining us. This was a great
Of course.
lot. I'm so excited about being able to recycle cigarette butts. It's just my pet peeve. They're everywhere. And I had no idea that was even an option. So that's very exciting. Oh, look, here I am. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. I'm pleased.
Sure. And if you guys were interested in that program, it's a free program. You could just go to our website and look up like cigarette recycling program at Terracycle. And you would just like collect them in like a pouch and then mail it to us. So if your school or class wants to get together and pick up cigarette buds, let us know. We'll be here to receive them.
Next time we do a trash cleanup, we'll have them sorted.
Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, no problem at all. Happy Earth Day, or in 2 days. Bye, everyone.
Hey.